Hello and welcome to this special episode of The Hidden Way. This is my first time having guests on the show, and I'm very excited to welcome them here today. One reason I wanted to start a podcast is so I can talk to interesting people about things that I love. And Taylor Swift is someone I always want to talk about because her art, music, and career have been a huge inspiration to me, giving me language, metaphors, and ideas to help me make sense of my own life and now also the lives of my clients. Her lyrics are poetry and filled with so many images and symbols that help us understand what it means to be human. My guests today are Kati and Ashleigh, hosts of the therapeutic podcast. They are both counselors and also Swifties, and I invited them on to discuss Taylor's new album, The Life of a Showgirl, and what it can teach us about ourselves. Welcome to the show, Kati and Ashleigh. I'm really happy to have you both here, and I would love it if you would introduce yourselves and tell us about how you got into counseling, but also maybe your love of Taylor Swift. When did that begin? So maybe Ashleigh, if you want to start, and then Kati, you can share with us.
Thank you so much for having us. We are thrilled. Anytime we get to talk about Taylor Swift and mental health, we are so excited. So thank you for having us join. I am a counselor in Michigan. I started my practice in April and have been practicing since 2022. And my master's degree is in clinical mental health counseling with an emphasis in Christian counseling. I primarily work with adults on depression, anxiety, social anxiety, suicidal ideation, and relationship issues. And as far as Taylor Swift goes, I learned of her when I was like 13 or 14 on the radio, and I remember having the physical radio with me, if you can remember those days.
A boombox of some kind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought I was the coolest, and I just remember playing the station that I had originally heard her on, just hoping that another Taylor Swift song would come on. So Teardrops on My Guitar and Our Song were my first favorites coming in.
From the very beginning. That's really awesome. That's funny. Yeah,
So
boombox days
classic.
are very classic. Yeah, what about you, Kati?
Yeah, so my name is Kati, and I'm also a therapist in Michigan. I've been practicing since 2020. So started right after, really just a few weeks before shutdown happened in Michigan, which is a really crazy way to start a therapeutic
Wow.
journey. But
Yeah.
so I was really drawn to counseling because I really enjoy having conversations with people. So in college, I just noticed that, people would open up and they'd share, and I really enjoyed that dynamic. I really felt like that was kind of a sign to keep doing something along those lines. And so I was encouraged to look into mental health, and then very early into my college career, decided that's where I wanted to go. So I work with adults 20 plus, individuals and couples. Most of my clients tend to be women, but I do enjoy working with men as well. And I focus a lot on relational trauma, LGBTQ plus populations, and a lot of grief work. And as far as Taylor Swift is concerned, I first heard Taylor's music in high school, and I really loved how she just unabashedly embraced romanticism and could capture the drama that is being a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I loved how her music swept me up into a world where she could express longings and dreams and emotions, and at times those paralleled my own experiences. So I would say that, I heard her debut album and really loved it, but I think I became like a hardcore Swiftie around the Speak Now era.
Okay. So also from the beginning, you were pretty
Yes.
hooked. Yeah. It was funny when I reached out to you guys, I hadn't realized you were both in Michigan. So it's really fun to all be together. We don't live that far apart from each other. So it's fun to meet people who are from the same place and interested in the same things. So I'm happy to have you both here. And I guess quickly, I think Ashleigh, you talked about how mental health and Taylor Swift are topics that you love. And I guess I'm just interested, why do you think mental health, Taylor Swift, those two things produce great conversations? How do those two things go together in your mind or in your experience?
Yeah, I think Taylor does an amazing job putting words to complexities of the human experience and life, relationships especially, but even things that she kind of experiences on her own. And so when we look at mental health, it's the same thing, right? It's how the human experience connects with others and how you kind of manage it and go through it. So she puts words to a lot of feelings that I think are hard to put words to. And I think that's part of what makes her so relatable and also why she's so successful and fun to talk about as therapists.
Yeah. And Katie, you had said something about, how she made the drama of what it is to be a teenage girl very relatable and accessible. Here we see, and we'll get into it a little bit, but with this new album, I think she captures the drama of being an adult pretty well too, and that
Hmm.
experience. So yeah, I'm just curious, have you been able to evolve as you listen now as an adult? Do you feel like Taylor has done the same kind of job in capturing what it is to be an adult?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Maybe
yeah,
even, uh, I think she's just like toured in her work. I think that she has a great versatility in describing emotions that everybody in life experiences, that everybody feels. And if you haven't felt it directly, then you know somebody who has, or it's very familiar to you. And I think that that's something very unique because she lives a very unique life that very few people can relate to. And yet she can communicate in a way that I think no matter what your status or position in the world, you can say, well, I have felt lonely, or I have felt betrayed, or I have felt sad, or I have felt that level of joy, or something along those lines. So I very much feel like, if anything, she's just taken those themes and gone so much deeper with them.
yeah. And that's why I think she's been successful for so many years. I think she just keeps growing her craft. And I think of that quote that talks about how the more specific you get in a story, the more universal the feelings in it become. And I think she just does that really well. So, yeah. So, I guess with that, what were your first impressions of the album when it came out? Was it what you were expecting? What did you think when you listened to it for the first time?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect other than a pop album, which I think was pretty clear, like in the marketing of it. So, um, I think I'm so used to Taylor putting words to really deep emotions, and I wasn't really sure what to expect with this. Like to go from TTPD to Life of a Showgirl is like night and day. So I I was curious what that was going to be like. And of course, we already have Lover, the album. So I didn't know if that was going to be similar vibes or if it was going to be a little bit different. And it seems like she found a new sound with this album. I really like the sound of it. Like Elizabeth Taylor is super fun. And I like a number of the songs, but that one especially just hits for some reason. Opal Light, really fun songs to like dance to, is another reason I love Taylor, because she can do all sorts of different types of music and be super successful and do it really well. As far as was it what I was expecting? Wood caught me off guard.
I think it caught us all off guard. I don't know if we were ready for that.
Like, if she doesn't say that, I'm going to, because I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I have a daughter in sixth grade, and we listened to Taylor together, and I listened to it before she did. I listened to it when it came out at midnight, but she heard, the clean version of it, and she's just like, I love that song. That's my favorite song. And I was like, yeah, it's really fun, but it's unexpected for sure.
I wonder if you were glad you had listened to it first.
Yes, I kind of had a feeling. I was like, I want to screen some of this first, just because you just never know. You never know what to expect. She's always full of surprises. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Good call.
Yeah.
Sounds like you know Taylor well.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Katie?
I really love the album from the first time I listened to it. As soon as I heard the first notes of Fate of Ophelia, I was like, yes. Oh, yes. This is totally the vibe. I really tried not to create a lot of expectations outside of what she told us fans to expect. I knew it would be pop, and that was very exciting to me because I think that she does pop very well. I knew it would be electric and happy because she had told us that beforehand. And beyond that, there were certain songs that I was kind of excited for, just like the title Eldest Daughter. I was like, this is going to be a really interesting, good song. But I also tried to keep in mind that this is going meant to be her experience, her take on Eldest Daughter, not mine. So I tried really hard to just hold back your excitement. This is her version of this. So I tried to keep an open mind of wherever I think she might go with something, she'll always go another direction. I just don't think anything similar to her in the way in terms of artistry. So I think that, yeah, I really tried to be chill about it.
Yeah, this is just a funny question, but are you the eldest daughter in your family? Either of you? Ashleigh, you are? Katie, are you?
I am not, no.
Okay. Because I have an episode about the eldest daughter thing, and we talk about that in therapy, and I think that is a thing, but I think, like I pointed out, not everybody who identifies with that is an eldest daughter. Like, I think
Yeah.
some of those things are, again, universal, but
Yes.
yeah. I liked it immediately too. I thought it was so fun. I was kind of prepping myself for like a 1989 really big pop album, really upbeat, and I was so happy to hear that it was still really fun, but the vibes were just more low key. And I'm in my 30s now. I don't have the energy I used to, so it's kind of nice to just have a very still really fun, really cool music, but not so hyper maybe as 1989. So I really like it. I think it's good music and unexpected, different than I think what a lot of us were expecting. It's been out for a month now. Do you feel like the same or different about it than when it first came out?
I think it's grown on me. I remember right before it came out, I was texting Katie, I'm not ready for my TTPD era to be done. I feel like the life circumstances of this year have been very TTPD-esque. And so I was like, wait, we have to go into showgirl mode. I'm not ready. But over time, I've really appreciated, not that Taylor writes the music to my life, but she basically does.
Yeah.
I've really appreciated having a little bit of more upbeat, and I think the lyrics and the songs have grown on me. Even Wood, I feel like I listened to the clean version of the albums, but I do feel there are songs I have a new appreciation for even now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think TTPD might be my favorite album. So it's very different, very, very, very different, but still, I don't know. She still expresses a lot of emotion in this new one. So it's just different and interesting. What about you, Katie?
A month later, I still very much love it. But to be completely honest here, I don't feel like the lyrics have drawn me in as deeply as TTPD did. TTPD really completely pulled me in. And this one, they do, and they're engaging, and it's very interesting. But I feel like with TTP, I kept excavating layer after layer. And in this one, I feel like that's been a little bit of a slower process, maybe, than TTP was. That being said, I still think that Showgirl has a lot of depth, and I really appreciate the themes that she explores. And I really loved her emphasis on the life of a showgirl, and she was very specific in that when she was marketing it. This is not being a showgirl, it's the life behind the scenes, it's behind the curtain. And so I really liked that take on it. And I think that just fits very well with the direction that she's heading with the behind the scenes Eras tour that we're going to get, docuseries that's coming. So I'm really pumped for it. I think the songs are fun, and they're as fun now as the first time I listened to them. They're holding up in terms of my enjoyment.
Yeah. I forgot about the docuseries coming up for a minute. I just got excited again thinking about it. I think that'll be really cool to see, and if it'll give us more insight on this album, because I think it probably will. And yeah, I was listening to Midnights this week. Midnights always feels like October to me. I don't know. I like driving around and listening to it. And even the lyrics on that album, I think, very different than on Showgirl. So I think more in depth, more you can sit and analyze those lyrics for quite a while. So yeah, very different. And one of the reasons I wanted to invite you on today was to talk about things that we discuss in therapy with clients often. And the first idea is that we can hold two opposing truths at the same time. We call this in therapy dialectics, or this idea that we can hold things within ourselves that really conflict with each other. I want to change, but I also accept myself. And we often need both of those things to actually create change in our lives. And then the other thing is how we think of our inner life as being made up of different parts with different roles or jobs or perspectives, kind of like in the movie Inside Out. We each, under the surface, have a lot of that going on, and that is what causes a lot of distress and confusion, anxiety for people is they don't realize that there's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm curious what you both think about why those ideas are helpful to people. And then we can discuss ways that the life of a showgirl shows Taylor doing these things within her life or within the album. So Ashleigh, maybe I would love to hear your thoughts on those things.
Yeah, I've heard Taylor say she'll write songs about things that she feels for like 4 seconds. And I think sometimes it lasts a little bit longer. I think she used to introduce herself as, "Hi, I'm Taylor, and I've been told I have a lot of feelings," which I'm like, same, girl. But when we look at the human experience, there are a lot of complex feelings that can go along with life. And when you go through something hard, it's not just hard, right? There's grief, there can be joy, there can be sadness, there can be anger. And to hold all of them can feel conflicting, but it can also be healing to acknowledge them all. And so when we look at Life of a Showgirl, I was kind of pulling some songs together. The difference between Father Figure and Nothing New from Red Taylor's version, The Vault, because the father and father figure, which is Taylor, um, it talks about you remind me of a younger me, and Nothing New talks about also that idea of there being a younger version of this person. And so there's different perspectives, right? One is like, I'm jealous. I'm sad that my era is over with Nothing New. But then with father figure, it's a mentor type of relationship, among other things, right? I'm pulling very small parts of those songs together. But another one that I thought of was the song Innocent from Speak Now, and just Reputation as an album, or Canceled, right? Like, good thing all my friends are canceled. And then there's also these songs from Reputation. This is why we can't have nice things. I don't need to forgive you. I won't. Right. And so there's really a difference here between, and obviously like time is different. The situations are different. The people involved can be different. So I think those are factors here as well. But there are multiple versions of these different stories.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting how I think when you're saying in some contexts, we are the mentor. In some contexts, we're the younger person with less experience or less power. And in the song Innocent, she's extending forgiveness to somebody who is very hurtful to her. And then on this album, she's, I don't know, just kind of refusing, like you said, to do that. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. Yeah. Katie, what are your thoughts on these ideas and the album?
Yeah. So, and just to speak to your point about dialectic thinking, I really believe that the idea that I can hold multiple contradictory realities even at the same time is core to emotional intelligence. I think that if you struggle to embrace nuance and like the gray areas of life, I think you might find yourself limited emotionally and in life because emotions function like layers. I kind of think of like an onion, like they're all stacked together. And so if you cut into it, you're going to cut into all these different layers of emotions when you dissect a situation. And I think that artists, especially in society, function in a very core way because they bring conversation around emotions and the way that those conflict. And I think Taylor especially does that really, really well. So yeah, I love that your point about dialectic thinking. You had asked that question, Rudi, of like, what do you think she might be trying to explore or address with the idea of a showgirl? Like, if you had a client, you'd ask, like, who is a Vegas showgirl? What themes or topics might you be interested in focusing on as a therapist? And I love that question because I was like, oh my gosh, I'd love the opportunity to work with a Vegas showgirl. Like, are you kidding me? That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
But if I worked with a showgirl, I would want to understand how someone came into that line of work. Were you seeking it? Did you end up there? Would you change it? Would you want to continue? Is it what you expected? How is it different than you expected? And I would really want to explore how you view yourself versus how other people see you. And I imagine that this career gets judged quite a bit from, all different angles, but like positive and negative. So like, how do you experience living in that judgment? And what do people think they know about you, but they actually have no clue? And I think these are the things that Taylor talks about in Showgirl. Power dynamics, performing, sexuality, privacy, judgment, dreams, purpose, legacy. I think those are all things that I would want to explore with a client who had a career that was focused on performance. And yeah, just kind of like what's behind the image that of the character that you're you're trying to play. So those are just some things I think that I want to talk to. I love that question.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting because all of the questions that you asked are, I think, what she's trying to answer in the album. And they're making the point that showgirls, people who, like I work with people who are musicians or perform in theater and different things. And we really do have to kind of address this idea that they are very good at putting on a show. They're very good at putting on a mask. And in their real life, I think, have a difficult time sitting with their emotion versus, a character that they're playing. And I think not everybody looks at themselves as though they are a performer. I know people who've never stepped on a stage before, but maybe don't realize everybody puts on a performance every day. Everybody walks out the front door and wears masks or costumes of a kind and is hiding or concealing those different parts of themselves. And so I guess I'm curious, how do you see that impacting people that you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have clients that maybe some are very aware of masks that they put on, and that might be due to like a particular relationship or family dynamic where they feel like they need to present a side of themselves that they don't present otherwise. And then there are people who are like, I don't put on masks. And then we dig a little bit deeper and it's like, oh, well, actually, to an extent, we all do. And yes, you do even. So, yeah, very much so. But I think that the level of awareness can vary very differently for people, for sure.
As you were talking, Katie, I thought, how does knowing that we wear a mask, how does knowing that we kind of do put on a performance or show or conceal different parts of ourselves be helpful to people? And I don't know if you have thoughts on that, Ashleigh, but I think we see that all the time in therapy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know we reference internal family systems in parts work. So one of the things that comes up frequently when I do parts work is the idea of protective part. And I think that can show up often in the form of a performative mask. If I do X, Y, and Z perfectly, then they won't see me for who I really am. And so when we're thinking about performing literally as a showgirl or having a performance just in our daily life, what are we shying away from, maybe even in ourselves? Is there something that's hard for us to face that maybe we don't even realize it, but we've taken 2 extra steps to make sure that even we don't see those parts of us?
I think the hardest part is when we don't realize it, we just think, why is nothing that I'm doing working? I'm trying really hard. I'm doing my best. Nothing is working. And we get really frustrated and we don't realize, okay, well, I'm thinking of going to work. A lot of people go to work every day, trying their best. They're attending meetings, giving input, and still not able to connect well with people, not able to meet goals that they have for themselves, and they're confused. It's like, why is this not working? But I think that idea of, well, if we're wearing a mask of a kind of, like, I know people who use sarcasm, for example, a lot of sarcasm to deal with conflict or just discomfort. And that is an example of a protector part. So I don't think I've ever explained IFS before to my listeners, but IFS stands for internal family systems or parts work. And in therapy, that is what is the idea of inside out. We all have these different parts that live like a family inside of us, and you can almost picture them around a dinner table fighting or agreeing or, and each one has a different role. And some of those parts are protective. They help us to not get hurt and they protect parts that are more vulnerable. So I guess this kind of leads into this idea of in this album, do you see these different parts showing up? Do you see protective parts and maybe more vulnerable parts within Taylor or her songs that she talks about?
Yeah, I think one of the things that always catches my emotions in this album is in Eldest Daughter when she says, "When I said I didn't believe in marriage, that was a lie." And I think that's an example of a vulnerability that was maybe hard for her to admit in Lavender Haze, which is, I'm assuming, the song that she's referencing with that, maybe one of many things. But, when she also talks about in Honey, she says, he was too high to remember what I was wearing the next day, but you stay until the morning. Those lines really jump out to me as these things that were maybe hard to admit in the past, or maybe she was protecting herself from in the past, but is now more able to connect with those vulnerable parts within herself. And I think you're kind of alluding to as well that maybe there's conflicting parts even on this album itself, but those were two examples that came to mind.
Yeah, the lavender haze reference gave me goosebumps. It kind of breaks my heart thinking about we all have hopes and dreams. Even the most successful among us, even people who look like they have everything, have secret hidden dreams and hopes for themselves. And that line from Eldest Daughter, where she says, I've been dying just from trying to seem cool. I think she's just been trying. And we all do. Like we all try to seem cool, but it's usually hiding something that is much harder to admit. Yeah. So thank you for that. Yeah, what are your thoughts, Katie?
Yeah, I love that question of where these parts showing up on the Showgirl album, because I think that this album very brilliantly, one song ties into another. It's very, very cohesive. And in Elizabeth Taylor, she says, sometimes it doesn't feel so glamorous to be me. And then in the Life of a Showgirl song, there's a lyric that says, sequins are forever, and now I know the life of a showgirl babe. Wouldn't have it any other way. And then she also has the line that says, now I make my money being pretty and witty. And so it's this contrast. It's not all glamorous. And then, yes, it is glamorous. And being pretty and witty is a glamorous way, like a glamorous way of living. Like it's just kind of holding that like this life is glamorous and it's not at the same time. And in her interview, I don't know if either of you watched her interview for promoting this album on Jimmy Fallon, but she talks about relating with the protege and the father figure song, which was very shocking to me. And I was like talking to Ashleigh about it. And I was like, why is she relating to the protege? She's very clearly the father figure, at this point in her career. And Ashleigh made a good point. She's like, Taylor always identifies with the underdog. And I'm like, you're right, it's true. But I think that idea that sometimes what we feel internally is very different than maybe what we are or how other people perceive us. And so just this idea of like, I don't feel fully known because what you're seeing isn't necessarily matching what I'm experiencing internally. And then there were two more. In Father Figure, there's a lyric that says, they don't make loyalty like they used to. And then in Fate of Ophelia, she says, I swore my loyalty to me, myself, and I. So it was just like interesting that there's like the contrary, right? That I'm alone, so I can only depend on myself versus I need loyalty from another person and it's not as real as what it used to be, quote unquote. And then coming back to Eldest Daughter, she says, things I said were dumb, which I love that lyric. It's so honest and self-deprecating, but in a really genuine way. We've all said, stupid things or dumb things that we wouldn't go back and say again. And then that's contrasted with the Life of a Showgirl song where she says, I took her pearls of wisdom and hung them around my neck. So there's this part of her that learns from other people and grows. And then there's this other part of her that's like, I say and do stupid things.
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting that you took it that way. I took that line in a completely different way, which is so on par for us.
This is so, classic. What direction did you take it, Ashleigh?
I took that. Now I want to look up the lyrics, but I think it says something about weddings or like couples doing cute things. And I thought she was calling those things dumb in the past. I think
What
it
is
could
the
be
lyric?
either. I don't remember.
She says Ferris wheels, kisses, and lilacs. Is that what she calls dumb? Ferris wheels.
I don't remember.
I'm going to pull it up right now. Give me 2 seconds.
It's the
We
best
lie
bridge
back.
in the album.
Yeah, it was so good. I
Yeah.
agree, Rudi.
Mm-hmm.
We lie
Totally
back, a
agree.
beautiful, beautiful time lapse, Ferris wheels, kisses and lilacs, and things I said were dumb. Because I thought that I'd never find that beautiful, beautiful life that shimmers the innocent light back.
Okay, so this is one of the reasons I love having conversations like this, because with art, you can interpret it in different ways. And when we don't talk about it, then we don't have the full complexity. I think it could be either.
Yeah.
But I love
totally.
hearing your take on that, Katie.
I love
Yeah.
hearing your take on it because I can see it that way. Also, Rudi, to your point, when you talked about I've been dying just from trying to seem cool. I don't know who said this. It was a take that I heard online. And so I don't remember the creator, so I can't give them credit. But they talked about this idea of trying to seem cool as I'm trying to seem acceptable or chill, or it could be taken as I'm trying to seem cool as I'm good. I don't need anything. I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
And cool as from that direction. So I thought that was really interesting because it's totally two viable interpretations of that. Either you're trying to seem
Yeah,
cool for acceptance or you're trying to stay cool as in like, I don't need anything.
probably both, or maybe
Yes,
both.
exactly.
I think this is why Taylor Swift is who she is and has touched so many people, and why people love her music is because um, this is all good art, right? All good art does this. It you can interpret what you will from it, but I think with the examples that you guys gave of the different ways that she presents herself in just one album, I think I feel so complex. Like I know that me, who I am, my opinions on things depending on the day or depending on my mood change drastically. And I just think she shows us the many different facets of how we can handle a situation and that it's all okay. None of it's correct. We're all just trying to figure it out. And I think one thing people are having issues with, I think, with her music, especially like Wish List or some of these songs here, is Fate of Ophelia too. People think she has presented herself as someone who does not want to be saved, who's just she's the strongest, toughest woman out there. And she is. She's on top of her game. And yet she's this other stuff too. So I just think people have a hard time sitting with it sometimes. How can she say, I want to be saved from the fate of Ophelia, when she in the past has not acted like that? Or I really love the line in Life of a Showgirl where she calls herself immortal, because I think she's done it. This album, I think, just shows us she's owning who she is. She's owning that she's a very complex person. And I think that's what gives her power. That's what makes her art so good.
Yeah,
Agreement or, yeah,
absolutely. Oh,
yeah.
100%. I would agree with that. And I think when people heard wish list, there was a corner of the internet, I don't know how pervasive it was, that was like, oh, is she wanting to be a trad wife or something like that? And I was like, whoa, like, I don't know how you, like, what you needed to do to get to that conclusion, but like, I didn't go there at all in my mind. I think part of, the complexity of being a woman or just being a human is that you can want multiple things. You can be powerful, you can be really successful, and you can be very career driven. But she has talked about in her music, I took the money, my friends from home don't know who I am anymore, right? Like, and then also, I want a couple of kids and I want the block to look like you. I want, marriage and I want a family. Yes,
Hmm.
that is okay. That's kind of
But
what freaking
Katie,
does.
women are supposed to choose a career or a family.
One or the
This
other.
is the black and white thinking.
Hmm.
You can't have it all.
Yeah. Does Taylor show us that we can have it all? Because I think this is what so many women feel stuck with. My clients, my friends, even myself, it's you just feel very torn in all of these directions. Can I do things that fill me up with joy and that I feel passionate about, that take me away from home and family and all of those things, and still be in relationship with people, still have, a family? What are your thoughts on that?
Is Taylor showing us that?
Yeah, I guess. Like, I think she's trying to own it a little bit in this
I think
album. I
so
guess we'll
too.
see.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And I think it goes farther than family planning, right? I think it's, again, speaking to the complexity of, yeah, I want friends and I want a career and I want a family and I want to enjoy time with the person that I love. And Taylor is like, I think she is acknowledging how intensely she felt, how deeply she felt those feelings with TTPD and calling it the fate of Ophelia. I mean, I think what she's trying to say is TTPD era
It's not
was
good.
that deep for her.
Yeah.
And it sounds like maybe she lost hope for what relationships could look like. And yeah, if somebody comes alongside you and is like, hey, actually, we could have a really cool life, why wouldn't you celebrate that?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I think this idea of protector versus vulnerable part is in all of this. In some ways, she is the toughest. She is the father figure. Is the one with so much power. And she's also somebody who needs protection. She's also somebody who needs somebody else to step in and help her out. So I think we all have that, and I think for some people it's easier to own the protector toughness. That's who they think they are, and then some people forget that they have that too. So I think it's like, how can we realize we all have both? We all have softer parts, and we all have those tougher parts.
Yeah.
And I think sorry, Katie.
No, go for it.
I think what you're referencing too is literally the life of a showgirl, right? The toughness it takes to, do whatever it takes to look the way you need to look and do the things you need to do. And she even talks about how exhausting the Eras tour was. Excuse me, how exhausting the Eras tour was. I can't get it out. But also like the blisters and doing it while she's sick and going through heartbreak and crying on stage. All of this stuff is toughness and vulnerability. The vulnerability of your physical body and your emotions and all of these things that go into performing and doing this work. Like there's both here.
The vulnerability of putting yourself on a stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people. It's very vulnerable. Yeah.
And something that I keep coming back to with the Eras Tour is the vulnerability of performing all of your life's work at the top of your career. I don't know about you, but have you ever had this experience where you look back at something from your teenage days and you just like, why did I wear that? We just have those questions for our younger selves. And she was a teenager. She was a actual teenager writing some of these biggest hits. And then at the top of her career, she's pulling out her entire discography. Wait, what's that word?
Discography.
That's the word.
That's the word.
Thank you. She's like pulling out all of this work and celebrating all these different ages and all the different emotions and stages of life that she went through while she's at the top of her game. I just think that's really cool in terms of what a emotional labor it takes to embrace every version of yourself and to do that wholeheartedly and enthusiastically.
Yeah. Would I want to go read my journal entries in public from when I was a teenager? No,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I tell Ashleigh all the time, Taylor is somebody who takes her inside thoughts and makes them outside thoughts. And
yes,
that is not something I would do, but she does. And I love that for her. And I love that for me because I get to listen to it. But
yeah,
it always shocks me.
yeah. I love that point of it's also about those younger versions of ourselves. That is part of the equation too. And you said she was 15, 16 writing some of these songs, and the song Cold as You. When I listen to that, I'm like, girl, what were you going through in your life? Like you're writing like about a middle-aged woman getting a divorce. That's like, that's the intensity, right? And it's like, it's so good. And I just think it gives us permission she talks about cringe sometimes in her NYU graduation speech. She talked about this idea of, did she use the word cringe? I can't remember, but just
I think so.
Yeah, we apologize for being cringy and eager and authentic. And she doesn't do that. Her work is full on, this is what I think and feel, all of the emotion. And so I just love that she gives us permission to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So what advice or how would you kind of counsel clients if they came in with some of this showgirl stuff, if they came in with this stuff from the album, what advice or counsel or encouragement would you give them?
I think one of the things that I really enjoy doing with clients is having their facial expressions match what they're telling me. Because I could totally see a showgirl coming in and just being the sassy, spicy, nothing matters. And the only thing that matters is my work, right? Or this persona that I'm putting on. I think it would be really hard for someone to really dig deep, perhaps. And so maybe saying this is not a performance. This experience in therapy is for you to examine and encourage yourself and like move through emotions and understand yourself. And so what is actually happening within you when you're here. And knowing that you're going to be seen for who you are as opposed to this front that you're putting on.
I love that. Yeah. I really like that. I had a thought and I forgot it. So Katie, why don't you share?
Ashleigh, I loved your determination of I'm going to see below the mask. I'm going to, it's just like there was such like a determination.
I love a challenge.
I love that. You do, and you're up for it too. So advice that I give to clients, and that I try to embody as well is to listen to the parts. So there's The creator of IFS, or Internal Family Systems, Dr. Richard Schwartz, has a book called No Bad Parts. And the idea is that all of our parts are good. And so, and I discuss that with clients because I think that if you can believe that the parts actually are good and they're actually for your benefit, then it's worth listening to the stories that they have to share, because that's just communicating the good that they want for you, right? So like you referenced Inside Out, the movie, and the character Riley, she has anxiety, but as we watch in the movie, like anxiety's whole work is to protect Riley and to help her fit in with her peers. So it may be going about it in an unhelpful way, but it's trying to accomplish a good thing. So I really help clients view the emotions as like layer building, which is kind of world building. What are all the stories? What are all the angles? What are all the different ways of seeing this? Because that's good information to help you navigate that terrain. So when somebody's feeling torn with their emotions, I'm like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you are. Welcome.
Yeah. 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 So Katie, you're talking about just letting it all be there, examining what is there instead of treating my sadness as something to be ashamed of, or that means I'm not doing it right. Well, let's slow down and ask, okay, why is the sadness there? What would the sadness have to say about this situation, instead of just ignoring it? And then Ashleigh, I think you're talking about this idea that we are allowed to have a private inner life, a private life that we don't show to everybody. It's okay to have a mask. Actually, I think we have to function in the world a lot of times, but to recognize the mask is a part of me. It is not the whole picture of who I am. And hopefully I can have space in my life, in therapy, or hopefully in relationships outside of therapy, where I can let the guard down a little bit. But therapy is a really good place to start to explore the idea that, oh, I can say what I really think or really feel. I don't have to pretend I'm always okay. So, yeah, thank you both for sharing that. The hardest question I saved for last, and this is an answer that might change from day to day, but I guess the last question I asked you guys to think about was, if you had to name your top 3 Taylor songs or lyrics from either just this album or from all time, what would you do? And I think this question is torture for Swifties, because it's like, I don't know, it's like having to choose a child to like give away. But
Ashleigh, do you want
yeah,
to take a stab at it?
Sure. So I really like the sad songs. And so my top 3 songs are All Too Well, the 10-minute version, and You're Losing Me, and So Long London.
you go
And
there. Yeah.
I haven't listened to those 3 songs in a row yet, but I think that I'd probably be crying pretty hard if I did. Some of
Okay.
my favorite lyrics from that, So Long London specifically, I am just getting color back into my face. I say that to Katie a lot. Like if I'm in a busy season and then I have more capacity, I'm like, I'm getting color back in my face. It's coming. So yeah, those are my favorites.
Yeah. If you're new to Taylor Swift, prepare yourself if you go to listen to those 3 songs in a row. I don't know if I'd recommend it. I don't know.
Yeah, it should come with a disclaimer for sure.
If you're very
Yes.
brave, go ahead and try.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if
Yeah.
you need to cry but don't feel like you can, listen to those songs. They'll get you there.
Yeah. They'll get you into your feelings pretty good.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just have to be really honest. When I saw like your question, like top 3 Taylor songs or lyrics, I just went nuts. I think I wrote down like 10 different lyrics.
I wanted this to be very challenging. I wanted to
It really
wanted
was.
to make this
It really
challenging.
was. So I can just list the top 3 lyrics. And I, like Ashleigh, I chose all the sad ones. But I think I just love these lyrics because of the story that they tell and the emotions they capture. But the first lyric that came to my mind was, I can go anywhere I want, just not home. And my tears ricochet. That one is brutal. The second lyric that came to mind was, you're not my homeland anymore. So what am I defending now? In exile. Ashleigh's face. And
So
then
good.
just a lyric that I think is so brilliant is, life is emotionally abusive.
Period.
That's
Period.
the end of the lyric. Like,
That's it.
that's on
That's the whole
snow
thing.
on the beach. And I'm like, that mic drop,
Yeah.
Taylor, that's
Yeah. Put that on a t-shirt. I think people would
yeah.
People would wear that.
Exactly.
For
Yeah,
sure.
that's so
100%.
What about
funny.
you, Rudi?
Yeah, I don't like questions like this because I don't like being put in a box. So like I told myself, this is just for today. Like this is just for today. But I think it's kind of interesting. It kind of gives you a glimpse of where people are and what they like. But um, lyrics, I would say the first one is I could build a castle out of all the bricks they threw at me
Mm.
from New Romantics. I love that. I really like that one. And then To Live for the Hope of It All from August. I love that song so much. It just I've seen somebody get that tattooed on them actually. That line. So and and then my third one is from Father Figure, I Protect the Family. I
Oh,
have been saying that so much. Like I have a 15-year-old daughter who's also a huge Swiftie, and we just kind of walk around and we'll just look at each other while we're doing chores, and we'll just say, "I protect the family." And there's something there's
I love
something
that.
very empowering about it. And yeah, it's just fun.
I love that
Uh,
so much.
yeah, it's so good. So the next time we talk, maybe if she comes out with something new, we'll have to reevaluate and see if that has changed. Maybe you'll be in a different place. And yeah, I am so glad you guys came on. It was really, really nice talking with you and hearing your thoughts on Taylor Swift and therapy. Is there anything else that you would want to share to capture, what we talked about today? Um, yeah, I guess I'll ask you that. Ashleigh, if you want to go first, we'll just keep going that order.
Sure. Yeah. I think there are aspects to this album that are just joy, right? Just it gave me sweet nothing vibes. The song Honey is just so sweet. And, it's okay. I heard somebody say, because there are like certain corners of the internet that maybe aren't quite as much of a fan of this album. And I heard somebody kind of say, do I not like this album as much because she's happy? She's not naming those sad emotions. And I was like, oh man, if that's you, just like connect with that. What is that coming up for you that feels the need for those really sad songs? And maybe but just, yeah, because I can
Mm,
relate to that a little bit too. I loved this album, especially like once I was able to digest it all. But yeah, just the emotions that these songs bring up in you are, I think, telling and can be therapeutic too.
hmm She said recently in an interview, art is a mirror. It's just a mirror for you and your life. So I like that. What about you, Katie?
Great quote. Yeah, to kind of build off of what you said, Ashley, I had kind of written down in my notes in preparation for today's podcast is that she is showing tenderness and happiness in Showgirl, which in some ways I find to be way more vulnerable than sadness. I don't know if anybody else can relate to this feeling of like if you know somebody going through a hard time, you don't want to bring up how well things are going for you, or if you're waiting for that quote unquote other shoe to drop and you're just expecting bad things to continue to happen. And so when you feel joy, it feels too fragile to hold on to it because what if it goes away and then my heart gets broken again? And she is being so unapologetic. She is embracing her joy. She's sharing it. She's broadcasting it. And I love how in her interviews she talked about how, this is maybe one of the few times, or maybe the first time in her career, where she created this album. And then by the time it comes out, she's in that same place. Whereas KTPD, she wasn't in that sad place by the time the album came out. But with Showgirl, she's still as happy now as she was when she first created that. And I love that. And I think that it's a bit of hope, right? Like you were saying, Ashley, if you don't relate to it now, hold on, you might still.
I love that. I love that. Happiness and joy can be more vulnerable than sadness. Very true. So thank you both so much for sharing your thoughts and for talking about this album. And where can people connect with you and find you if they would like to listen to your amazing podcast where you analyze specific songs, like you go through different songs, but through a therapy lens? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, if people want to find us, we're on Instagram at therapeutic podcast, or if you want to search Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, we are there as well as Therate or Therapeutic podcast. Thanks so much for having us. This was so fun.
Yes, thank you both. And we will see you guys next time. If you would like to find me on Instagram, I'm at the Hidden Way Pod. So thank you both. And hopefully we'll have more Taylor stuff to talk about sometime soon in the future.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Rudi. It was such a pleasure to talk
Yes.
with you today.
Yes. Thank you.